Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Question Time Live, episode 115. This is going to be the very last public, focus on that word, folks, public airing of Question Time Live. As of next week, we're going to be back with the new show, Wednesday Night Live. Not too much of a change there, is there? But the format will be very different. Now, I was hoping we'd have got that rocking and rolling this week. Two bits have caused a delay in that one. It's sheer chaos, to be fair, at HQ at the minute. But the main part is I did actually, the amount of time it takes or was going to take to put all the assets together to do everything as I want it to do. That's intros and bits and bobs for in between and all the rest of it. So, and in between all that, I did actually have some new kit that's turned up for Aaron because some of the stuff we started working on was crashing his MacBook Pro. It's not an old one here, it's one of the newer ones, but that might give you an idea of the kind of size of the stuff we've been working on between that and the documentary, which is also turning out to be an absolutely monumental task. So this is generally how this process goes at HQ, when all of a sudden Ricky decides we should do a documentary about that. And we know absolutely naff all about making a documentary, and we go off and do it. End of. Yeah. That's where we're at with that one. It's had some serious hours plowed into it, but we're both buzzing for where it's at. We're not quite there yet with it. I'm going to stop even mentioning when it might be, because I want it to be right to not only do the story justice, but just get it all absolutely spot on and make the most enjoyable watch for you guys when it comes out as well. So there we have it. Other than that, the weather, Jesus Christ, wow, was that? That was absolute chaos last week, weren't it? I cannot believe I plummeted, absolutely plummeted. My heating system was even struggling, let me tell you. Mainly because it's just exposed a couple of flaws in it that we need to work on with some different pumps and stuff in the system, but unbelievable stuff. It was pretty horrible, and luckily it's picked up a little bit since. And then, Christ, I don't know if you've seen it. I can't remember. It was on one of my videos I shared recently. I've had a bloody heron, very hungry heron. And the lads have actually seen it today getting through the slots in that building that's out there. The wood slots that you can just barely about get your hand through. And a heron's managing to get its way through there. Unbelievable stuff. It's not giving up, but there we go. It's nature, I suppose. We deal with it as best we can, but we actually thought we found the place where it was coming in. And forgive me if I'm looking back at myself here and screening, my eyes look shot. I am a little bit tired, guys. And yeah, there we go. So, Question Time Live, please feel free. Let's make the most of this one. I've got nothing else lined up. No sales pitches, news, anything like that. I'm going to take this whole time we've got for you guys, get boshed out what we can. I've already seen the few questions firing in, which spilled over from the Telegram group already. But yeah, let's get rocking and rolling. There's a few bits, fish updates for events and bits and bobs. People asking, they're going to get rolled out over tomorrow and Friday into the relevant WhatsApp groups that we've got. So all that information will be in there for you guys. And I suppose I should start with the one I knew was coming. So this is actually news to me yesterday. When I say I live in a bubble, I really do live in a bubble. And unless somebody really throws something through that pierces it, it doesn't get through. But somebody did in the Telegram group yesterday. So, evening, Ricky from sunny Cornwall. Thoughts on Saki Hikari F20? Now, if I remember right, and I'm just going to check this on my iPad, I don't actually think this is a variation of Saki Hikari, which is going to be my main kind of focus point around that. So which is at H20. So you all know, and I have said this before with my comments on, and I think you probably might know, those that have watched for a long time, exactly how I'm sort of going to answer this. For me, where I'm looking right now for areas I know I want to make improvements and changes, the food is not one of them. When the whole FD topic come up, again, I'm not one. You're never going to see me just jumping straight on something, because the only problems I'm looking to fix, which fits into my whole methodology, are areas where I know I need considerable improvement. Food is not one of them right now. And it's going to be a video. It'll no doubt drop on Sunday, I think, looking at the schedule. I can't actually find the packaging on where it is. But yeah, food is not one of them. So there's a video I've dropped, and I harvested 2 ponds yesterday, and they consisted of all my homegrown Nisai from this year. So this is all fish that generally arrived maybe over February and March, I should suspect, as small tosi, and I've been growing them through. Yes, there's been multiple selections that's all been documented, but both of these ponds were the 3.5K ponds that don't have showers. So we're talking the drum filter, the 500 litre K1 fluid bed, 2 air pumps, 150 driving the fluid bed and a 130 in the pond, and then a turnover rate of around once every 2 hours. And the average size of the Nisai in there was 52 to 60 cm over the 2 ponds, with the pond where they were slightly bigger on average because of a lower stocking density. And I say that it was around 35 to 40 fish that was in there altogether. They were carrying a lot more volume. So coloration was absolutely superb, all the rest of it. So if you guys can see something you think I really need to be changing, then certainly when you watch the video, feel free to let me know. But it's not an area I'm pursuing, and like I said, don't jump on this now. This product, from the quick research, I knew nothing of it until it got brought to my attention, because it seems like the deal's been done exclusively with another distributor. I know Saki have their own foods manufactured by Kirin Hikari. So Kirin is the parent company behind it all. Whether or not I have a very small amount of trust in brand deals, let's say, with the Japanese, I've seen how it all plays out. I've seen the JPD stuff over the years and all the rest of it. And they seem to have no issue, cozying up to somebody for a photograph, knowing exactly what's being inferred by having the photograph and stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying for 1 minute it's a sellout, because I do know they have their own diets manufactured. So, and they do some very interesting stuff with food. I will say the food itself looks interesting, but where will it slot in? It's only a large pellet for a start. So, it's specifically, as I'm seeing it, targeted at a certain size of koi. But we'll see what happens with it. I'm not going to be rushing into doing anything with it. You guys out there will probably be giving me feedback on what you think of it before then, just simply for the fact of there's absolutely nothing I need to change in and amongst all that. The one big thing I do need to work on, I'm going to end on that bit now anyway, because I know very little about it. I do know about their diets and the use. Is this the only one that they use? Again, I don't know. You can go into this forever, like with the Dainichi and the FD. This isn't the only tricks that these places have. So do bear that in mind. Just look at it for what it is, and don't kind of get sucked into the breeder's face or the fish that's on the bag or the hype around it. Can I see it being that much better than Saki Hikari? No, not really. The interesting bit I will say I like the look of is the diverse temperature range around it. But for me, I think one of the phenomenal things with all the Hikari stuff is the Hikari germ that is the main part of Saki Hikari. So there we go. We'll see what happens, see what pans out with that one. And I will love to hear feedback from anybody out there who's using it. But like I say, coming on to it, one area I do know I need to work on is one that I am actually addressing next week. I've got a very uncharacteristically advanced bit of kit for me coming, which I am actually really excited about. And the whole keep it simple mantra, I might get beat over head with this one, but there is no super simple way of doing this. And it is a commercial bit of kit. I'm not saying too much about it at the minute, because before you know it, I will have yeah, people who I don't want nicking a potential trade advantage, installing them left, right, and center. So let's wait and see what happens. But I think, having read all the theories behind it, it was along the lines of something I was looking at anyway. That's now going to be combined with a new technology, and yeah, let's see. I think they're installing it. I'm going to give it a period of. I am going to document everything throughout on my phone. I don't know at what point that'll get dropped, but I want to document it so we can physically see, and at any point can share that information, even if I share the results and not necessarily the kit. This is not a bit of kit that I see any purpose for with you guys as koi keepers. It really is a commercial piece of equipment, and you will never have these problems generally unless you are stocking and feeding like I am at the temperatures I do. You won't have these same problems. So yeah, there we go. Just another little one that's spinning around at the moment. I've not done the hellos yet either, guys, have I? I'm a bit out of practice, getting rusty. Nice to see everybody. Everybody's still there. Look, no one's going away. I can actually hear the wife. She must be watching. I've just managed to hear myself. Oh, Gaz, that's out of order because Mackie's crap. I'm not getting into computer debates on here. Not a chance. I've just heard myself. I've heard the lag just behind. That's hilarious. Sorry. Dear, everyone's had a bollocking. Daughter's been told to keep quiet, then she sneaks around, and it's like she's got lead weights on her feet. Flipping heck. Right. Ooh, what's this one? Foss fishing. Messaged you a few months back. You were a huge inspiration to me getting a new big job in the industry. I just hired my first employee. What would be your biggest advice to give a complete novice? Ooh, well, Foss fishing. I'm very glad to hear that bit. Anyway, I do remember you getting in touch, buddy. And biggest advice to a complete novice: keep it simple. I think that's the one. Don't try and overcomplicate it. And the biggest one, I think the biggest one I can do it because this will have such an impact is very, very carefully choose who you're going to listen to, and stick with a person you've analysed as being the best person to listen to, and honestly stay there until you know you've got the skills and the abilities just to trust your own instincts at that point. And the reason, and I do really buy into this one because I've seen it happen over the years working in my dad's shop. You know, we would get somebody, and because of the nature of how we are and how we always used to do things, wanting people to succeed, just when you've got all that feedback, you get to know people's ponds. You can come in and you get to know the nature of people as well. So things would be very, very easy to analyze, the history, what's gone in the pond, all the rest. If something's gone wrong, you think, Christ, what's happened there? And you can see through stuff a little bit. But then you also have seen the other side of it of people that just don't listen. Heads are completely smashed, going in a new direction every week. It's just never going to work. It's the same across, it's not just koi keeping, that's the same across loads of different things, because one of the biggest things is your time and your knowledge and your experience. And if you can just avoid some of them, pitfalls are actually quite important because you'll learn a lot from the pitfalls. But if you can avoid some of the really nasty stuff, certainly in your early years, I think that's really important. And also, again, just the amount of poor quality information I see on social media, on YouTube in particular. I mean, there's a couple at the minute that God, it's just crimes against koi keeping advice, honestly. They'd get locked up for it. It's fucking just complete and utter bullshit is what it is getting shared around. And I see some of it and I just think anybody who gets sucked into that, I just feel sorry for, because the way it's going to end. So I think that's the biggest part of it is do your homework, find the right people to listen to. You've got to get a rapport with somebody as well, one way or another. So whether that is following somebody online or a local dealer or whoever it is, and when you're comfortable and you're happy, you know, follow that, follow those principles, listen, don't go, you know, here, there, and everywhere, picking all kinds of little bits up and tinkering and changing stuff, because it often only ends one way. And it's either with a load of money being wasted or a load of frustration. And I've seen it happen so many times. So yeah, that would be my biggest bit of advice, and really limit the sources of incoming fish as well, which kind of ties into that whole principle, because yeah, I just again constantly see people getting caught out with fish coming, and the problem is some of it is even that common that you can almost guess where it's come from. There's a few real bad culprits for a lot of this stuff out there, like with bacterial problems, for example. And it's shit. It's really shit. But then what also surprises me is people aren't often want to speak about it, which I do respect to some level, because it's quite easy for stuff to become toxic and slanderous in this job, certainly when it gets put into certain circles. But you know, it could also help people avoiding them pitfalls. And then it's also the bit that really gets me, and I've seen this happen too much over the years, is people going back for a second dose. You know, I remember early doors in the shop, and it's me, bearing in mind I'm a young teenager, so I'm really learning about people as well, that would get bitten by somebody and go back for another dose. I mean, that just, it used to continuously blow my mind, and I still see it today. But that's human nature, I suppose. We can't win every time. But yeah, choose your people, stick with your people, keep it simple. And honestly, the koi keeping doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be super expensive. Your biggest strength as a koi keeper will always be your knowledge and your experience. And when you work on knowledge and experience first and foremost, it stops you getting ripped off. It stops you taking big hits in your pocket, and it makes things a hell of a lot more enjoyable. Evening, Ricky. Who would be your choice for a traditional shower? Paul, to be honest, that style of shower is getting harder and harder to come by, but you're gonna be looking at any of the decent shower breeders, really, who you go for, that will suit your budget. That style, I was just thinking then, I mean, Hoshikin, he actually prefers a Kindai shower. He started breeding them as a hobby, and because he loved Kindai shower. But I was thinking then, two of the best showers I've ever sold from there were bloody traditional types. So yeah, it's just a not a super popular pattern style now. Not popular to produce, but whenever they come up, they are popular because they're so scarce. If you follow me with that one, so yeah, any of the usual decent show breeders will be the one to go to, and yeah, good luck finding you one, mate. Yes, they will indeed, but this one actually can't. Well, it's trying to get at stuff. It can't get at stuff because everything's covered over. But crazy antics we're seeing. Fancy Carp, my God, he's had two absolute killer Saito Matsukawabakis off me, and I have got the pleasure of growing them for him. And God Almighty, it's just absolutely nuts how well they're doing. It really is. Paul asking me about Vetzyme. I don't know what it is, Paul. I've never heard of that, buddy. If someone wants to share some more information, I'll probably give it the usual answer of what the hell is it? Why do you need it? And we'll go around that route. But yeah, can't help with that one at all. Koi boy. Evening, Ricky. Just a quick one. I have just over 1,000 litre grow on pond with a 2,500 litre pump into a surge, then through a backy shower, returning to the pond. Would you change anything about that? Instantly, when I looked at that, I mean, 1,000 litre, 220 gallons. The first thing I was thinking there was typically your pump might be a bit big, but you're going to have quite a lot of head loss with everything you've got going on there. So I was to suggest you'll be all right. When it's a small body of water and you've got shower filtration, that often allows you to maybe run a higher turnover as well, which can also be beneficial in a small body of water. So yeah, To be honest with you, mate, I can't see anything there. I don't know if you've got any heating. That would always improve. You could probably heat that with a 300-watt aquarium heater as well, to be honest. But yeah, get your aeration right, and I think job's a good one with that. Morning, Susan. I've had some good news from Susan. Apparently, she's managed to get vetting and antibiotics administered to the fish. So yeah, they're on the mend, which is fantastic news for Susan. What you thought on Saki Hikari price increase? Yeah, I mean, here's one. I mean, this again is just this job sometimes. So the communication coming out of that distributor over here, I'm not going to lie, is just absolutely shite. But I believe part of the plans have all changed, if I remember right. But I might even be telling you the truth now, because it could have changed again since the last conversation that came in. I don't know if there's been a bit of backtracking, maybe. Let's just see. I think it was the first time this got mentioned, and this is the stupidity of this. You know, you mention it to one, within no time, it's gone around like Chinese whispers, and there's been bits added on and taken away and twisted and changed. So let's just wait and see. Part I was bracing for is now not going ahead. Obviously, from my perspective, out of everybody, even who's tuning in, this is gonna, if those price increases were legit, I mean, it's gonna fucking hit me like a ton of bricks. But what am I going to do about it? This is the problem. Nothing, because there's no way I'm changing that food. It just wouldn't make sense, because there's nothing out there even close that is substantially cheaper that can do it. If there was, I would have changed it by now. So yeah, it's shitty. Let's actually see what the reality and the truth is when it kind of washes through. But it's just, I mean, let's face it, it's not just with this, is it? It's everything. It's mental. But if what they were planning does go ahead, I think they will see a hit, unfortunately, because it will be at the point where people just go, no, that's enough. So I hope whatever they're doing it for, and if they're doing it, it really is completely necessary, because there will come a point where they do price themselves out of the market and drop a share, which will be a shame for it. Like I say, I will, unless it gets ridiculously extreme, I'll push through, because just the maths and calculations and bits we've got, I just know I can't get the same yield or keep up with my whole mentality, systems and everything that I do without the stuff. It's a very, very key component in the formula. Therefore, for me, is what it is. But just fingers crossed, they've backtracked. But let's wait and find out. Yes, Satch came up to give me a hand yesterday. Obviously, Satch does quite a lot of work for me, helping run the group and bits and bobs. So I come up to do some content for it, and yeah, it was a fun day, that, and you'll see in the video exactly why it means so much to me to have those fish at exactly where they are, because it's not an easy thing to do. That really is, I believe they are raised to Japanese standards. And when I say Japanese standards, I'm talking the guys that do it properly, because I already do raise fish better than a lot of some of them. But at this level, I'm talking about the guys that I see as the guys. So yeah, and now with some of these tweaks, hopefully this year, we can just go up and up and up from there. But it's definitely a bit of an obsession. Hi, Ricky. A lot of people are now looking to extend their ponds this year. How would you best mature and add new media with a second system being added? How much old to new K1 would you split? So if you've got a mature filter, I mean, the minute you stop running it, if you are stopping running it or just keeping the media wet, you are going to lose, the bacteria is going to die off still. But it being old media with a previous biofilm, you will find it kicks up well. But you want to use as much of the old stuff as you can, add as little new, or if you need to put new for capacity, it just is what it is, Mike. You put the amount in that you need and get on with it. The best thing in maturing a second system is not so much about mixes of media and all that. It's just getting it seeded. So if you have got the old stuff and you can keep it alive, fantastic. Transfer as much of that over as you can. one of the biggest ones you'll find is as well, keep as much water. So if you're setting up a temporary home, set up the biggest one you can, keep the most amount of water you can, because there's so many elements to maturing a koi pond. Don't forget, it's not just the biofilm that's in the filter media, it's all in the pond walls. You know, completely fresh water. There's nothing in there. The ecosystem, everything that'll be living in the water, none of that's there either. So as much of your old water as you can will also help seed up the new pond and get some nice continuity from where you were at. But yeah, don't forget, pond walls, pipework, everything, biofilm is growing everywhere and all plays its part in the complete ecosystem. It's not just the filter, but as much old media as you can keep, as much old water as you can keep, will all make the process a lot smoother. And just make sure then, if you're adding fresh water into that, you purify it as you would, because you don't want to be killing anything off in the filter or the body of water in the pond with the with chlorine, because that will happen. You've just realized, I think I somehow managed to miss a question. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Kevin. Hi, Rick. I wonder what's the best way to test for chlorine in house tap water, please, so I can see when my dechlorinator stop working. The test strips I've tried do not work. Yeah, so it's one of the few digital meters I do own, salt tester and a chlorine meter. So it's the Hana little pocket testers, absolutely fantastic bits of kit, to be honest, for getting that and getting it accurately. If you don't want to go for one of them, I think it's is it DP4 tablets. Can be quite useful just to have on hand as well for a quick speedy test. So hope that helps you, Kevin. All right, let me find out where it was. Half an hour in already, crazy. Hey, Rick, I've had some test results come back and there's no KHV. Okay, so I didn't know we were suspecting that, to be honest with you. From what you told me, I was always along the bacterial routes. Bacteria was found, but luckily not the antibiotic resistant kind. Yes, haven't had any new sick koi. Sick koi are healing. Susan, I'm very, very happy for you, honestly, because there is nothing worse than a bacterial infection. I'm having to do antibiotic injections every 3 days on the remaining sick koi, and it seems to be healing them. Yep, sounds about right. Evening all. Yes, Ray. It's like I say, been back today, and we've found how it's getting in, and that's just absolutely shocked us all. Jay Biggs. I'm not a pro by any means, but I see. Oh, there we go. I misread that to begin with. I'm not going to lie. I'm not a pro by any means, but I see someone think, "What the fuck are you talking about, you tool?" I thought Jay was aiming that at me. He might be aiming that at me, actually. Jay, are you aiming that at me? Why are you doing that? Yeah, a tool's polite for what some people call me, to be fair. Yes, mental, Gary, absolutely mental. Evening, Lee. It's a good question. Hi, Ricky. Is Saki Deep Red worth paying the extra money over standard Saki colour food when prepping koi for showing? Absolutely not. And it's really not. It's absolute waste of time. It is such a specialised product. It's just not the one. There's no use for it over here. Most people I see around UK show, I don't think use any sort of coloured food generally, because it's still, there's groups of people that frown upon it like you're doing something naughty. You're really not. I'll tell you, it's industry wide, but this is something that might, at the highest of high levels, give you an edge. And I mean a small, but the levels I'm talking about, we just don't come into this kind of scene. So yeah, Martin, not something for me, that one, and I just don't think it's a particularly strong selling line for him. How are you getting on with the koi you're treating with Bryony? Ray, I presume you mean the Karashigoi. So you might have seen the last video on the channel. Very, very random case of Karashigoi got something attacking a few of its fins. And yeah, it's the fish is doing well. That's actually had 3 of its injections now. It's got 2 left, but we're seeing day by day improvement, which is fantastic. And I felt would be the case because it's not really super severe. It's very, very strange. I've never seen anything kind of go at it like it. But yes, doing well. And other cases, there's bits. So the pond I've featured on the channel, we're doing the documentary about, absolutely thriving now, which is fantastic. And there is actually currently something else I've been working on as well, which has been an interesting one. 3 different strains of bacteria found on the lab work, which, yeah, there was some resistance there to one antibiotic. Therefore, different, more potent antibiotic was needed. And just to kind of to prove the case of why you have to do the analysis work properly, is that you could have gone with one of those 2 antibiotics and it would have had an impact, but it wouldn't have cleared this off. You'd have been, getting stuff and problems opening up in no time again, which would be super frustrating. So it's very, very hard to nail this stuff without getting all that work done. But I do understand when I say this, that work it's not cheap, it's not the easiest to access. And then you get into the realms, the antibiotic being used is an expensive one, but it's no good using the other stuff because it would only target one, I believe, of the 3 strains of bacteria that were found from a swab around one of the wounds. Crazy. It's they're just a nightmare. I was coming back to that. Yes, he's using a 300-watt aquarium heater on that tank. When you mentioned air, it reminded me to ask, is a rectangle pond, it's a rectangle pond just under 4 foot. How would you set the air upon it, i.e. current of the water? So even I would go all one end. That's the principal philosophy. An air bar across the back, all your returns in one place, and go with your one directional flow. It's going to be a winner for you. Hi, Ricky. Do you still have the, I presume that's Aragoki style, Deutsch Tancho Goshki? Oh, I think I know which one you're on about there, Dave. And yes is the answer. And that's going to be coming to an auction on the Ricky Stoddart Nishikigoi WhatsApp group sometime soon. I saw that yesterday and it reminded me actually. So yeah, on that note, guys, there is the link in the comments for that one if you'd like to join. There's auctions now generally 2 or 3 times a week, I think, and the odd few fixed price listings and all kind of bits going on in there. So well worth joining. And the description for this video, the link is in there. Ricky, have a few koi jumping under the covers of pond, biggest fish going thud to heated. You might want to reword that one for me, Lee. Oh, there we go. Ricky, sorry, Mrs. Fiddling with her Sugarcraft and typed message. She typed it incorrectly. Koi's, I think it's a good bacteria additive for water. Again, Paul, I've not heard of that one, mate. But again, I'll go to PSB bacteria is my favorite. It's tried, tested. It's one of them products for me, a little bit like, and I say a little bit like Saki. I've seen it always delivers for people, and most people who use it, even with really good water, notice a difference. That's for me what makes a good product, when it's consistently delivering for people in any kind of environment. So that'd be the one, to be honest. Honestly, folks, I'll say it. You know what I'm like anyway, but all these new products and stuff coming out, I'm going to be the worst person to ask about it because it just doesn't fit my philosophy where I'm at. I know it's nice to get excited about new products coming out, but I think the day you do hear me talk about one, believe me, it'll be a fucking wonder product because I just don't care for it. There's nothing out there I know can really add any massive benefit to anything that just skill, knowledge, and a fundamentally good system can do for you. Hence why I have banged that Saki Hikari drum so much, because of the quality of product that it is, and like even that, I can't see what Hikari can do to actually ever top that as a product. To be honest, the day they actually do, I mean, it'll just be scary, scary stuff. And this is not actually this is also the same. If you look at the Japanese koi scene, there's breeders out there. It's this. Don't get me wrong. We know where there's small improvements. I know where I want to make improvements that could make massive gains. But these are working on basic fundamentals. But it's not, you know, every time a new product is out, jumping on or changing diets or done. When you've got something that works for you, it's your foundations, and you look to build upon it. Not just completely changing directions all the time. But if you are looking to try something new as well, it's trying it in isolation, because you've got a core that's integral to, in our case, obviously a business or a breeding program, or, you know, whatever it is going on. But I don't see why that should be any different for you as a hobbyist, because at the end of the day, it's about continuity with your collection and getting the results. And this does that. We're working against, and I'm sort of the antichrist in a lot of ways like that, because we're working against an industry, and through commercialism, not just in our industry, in everything, new products are constantly being made because companies need to sell new products all the time in order to keep all the machines churning. So, but I mean, if you look at the fundamental, just another fantastic piece of kit that I rate in the Nexus and K1. Look, I mean, that thing has absolutely stood the test of time. I should still imagine it's probably a top selling system now because of the price point that it hits. It's absolutely bomb proof, and you can see why EA didn't kind of react. You know, everybody writing that product off when drums were coming all the rage, but drums still, as a percentage of market share, are minute compared to the likes of what EA generally pump out to the stuff. It's tried, tested, the fundamentals work. It might not appease everybody and fit every solution, but the fact of the matter is it delivers, and that's the stuff I'm into. So I'm not going to go chopping and changing all the time. I've done it too many times over the years, to be honest with you, and it only ever ends one way. Right, let's have a look. I know, let's talk about Shunku, or best breeder, Ginrinchag, Marido, Hirasawa, Marase. Shunku, so sorry, Marek. Shunku, Masaito ones, not, I say not got many. I've got a little stash of them that I'm sat on waiting to see how they develop. He hasn't produced any, I say any, very, I mean, it's minute amounts. So I bought all the fish at Saito, all the Tosai this year, because he's got a fascinating mix of stuff. But it's more the Ginrin Mukashi. And these are all very, very interlinked in some of their qualities, because he uses, you know, some similar parents across the set. But it's his Ginrin, Mukashi, Kabuto, all that stuff that he has actually got a flashy name for as well. But if you give me a second, I might. It actually quite fascinating me this when I saw it, because that'd be too far back. Yeah, he's named it after a particular shell that's found in Japan that is pearlescent, and let's see if it is there. No, it's not where I'm expecting it. Yeah, I'll get that for some point. But I mean, he does some fantastic stuff. I just love going to that place, because he'll always, all the parent fish are sat there and he's telling you, look, that's that. It's come from this line. I've mixed it with that. Absolutely fascinating to get into. But he has produced some really fantastic qualities in them fish. But yeah, not many. I'll say you'll probably not really get any Shunku about this year from a Tosai perspective, which is a shame. The parent fish is still there, however, so it's not all done. You got to remember, he's a very small farm, so he's driven not really commercially. He's driven by what he wants to do every year. Best breeder for Ginrin Chag, yeah, probably Marido. I'm up there, and I'm saying that right off the back. I pulled 3 mid-50s Nisai out yesterday that I've raised. They were looking superb. Hirasawa and Marase, that's actually all the same there. Hirasawa is the family name for the farm that is Marase. Marase is the brand name of the farm. So as for normal Chagoi, even that, to be honest with you, I'd be hard split now of which one to go for out of those two. I'd say the absolute most stable is the Hirasawa one. in regards to maybe some things that I've seen in scale alignment problems and stuff like that on the lower end fish. But the Marido colour and body power is equally as impressive. So yeah, Ginrin Chag, I'm on Marido though, for sure. That's where I'll be putting my money with that one. Good evening, Simon. I'll only let you guys answer this one in the comments because again, I'm completely removed from where that's at. So feel free to have a chat with Ralph about that one, guys. Hiya, how are all your ponds? How are all your ponds single block laid on edge? Some are strengthened, I can see, but some aren't. But look too big for this approach. Tell us your secrets. Buddy, I can't. Again, I'm never going to give building advice. They've been up for years. It was off of a builder's advice. They say that they're made with solid concrete blocks, some 4-inch, some 6-inch. I do remember that bit well because I had to move them all back in the day, and yeah, that was treacherous. So yeah, regards that, the 4-inch ones, I believe there's so many sort of tie-in walls across the different spans that helped. The bigger ponds with the 6-inch solid concretes, it's about a foot in the ground as well. I do know a lot do get over-engineered, but I'm not going to pass comment on an area that I shouldn't be advising on. So I'm not a builder. There might be someone in the comments can help more with that one, but all I can tell you is they have been up for a mighty long time. Anthony, Ricky, I received my Kohaku from your Battle of the Breeders. It's the online event in March. With them being pushed during our winter, would you suggest condition them at 18 for a couple of months? No, Anthony, probably as you settle it in, it's a normal process. So when you'll kind of get that, I think April will be the time. Really just let it get settled in, and then you'll probably start winding your whole pond or collection up through into May, June and onwards, which will be absolutely fine. These fish didn't particularly have a strong summer, so they're having their growth period now, so it'll just be a continuation of that. I think the big misconception with this overdoing it with their sort of feeding through winter or heating is if fish are subjected, Tosai through to Nisai is a different period. It's generally one where we all want to max out. Nisai through Sansai, Yonsai. If you're keeping them warm and on heavy food 12 months of the year for that amount of time, that is when the problems are going to come in. But the Tosai to Nisai period in doing that, there's absolutely no issues with it all. So, like I say, you'll have a bit of a down period, but it's all very well managed at my end. We're not completely overdoing it, just giving them every chance to grow as well as they possibly can do. So look, Susan can't wait for the documentary. Yes. Hi Ricky, is it possible to over filter my pond? I've seen rare instances of this, to be honest, but generally no, because the media you've got is capacity. It's capacity for biofilm to grow. So you're not always going to make the most of it if you're not feeding a lot at that point. You've got low fish weight density in the pond. The bacteria, the biofilm is going to thin out. The minute you start hitting it, it's going to multiply. It's going to thicken up. But like I say, and it will thicken up really well on the media. And the amount of media you've got is just the capacity. So, other things that will probably affect it will be more like turnover rates and retention times and bits and bobs. So, no, Andy, I think it'd be very, very extreme to actually overfilter a system. Ricky, do you stop feeding females growth food after 3 years? I've heard that you're just encouraging egg production. Honestly, God. Yeah, I hear all these fucking wives' tales and stuff all the time. So yeah, I'll be sure to pass that information on to them when I'm in Japan next. They're trying to raise a grand champion at 5 or 6 years old and 90 cm will stay off the growth food Growth food, remember, at certain water temperatures is an absolute really requirement because of what's needed in them in the high water temperature periods. You know, if you're just going to lose mass if you're not providing enough fats, the right mix of balanced carbs and proteins, then fish are just going to lose weight. They're going to malnourish. So yeah, it's absolutely crazy. You know, in regards to kind of egg production and females fish, those are generally managed in a different way. But during the summer, when they've done their business, they're back in a mud pond, and it is feed them to help get them eggs produced. That's the whole point of it all. So I do love all these little bits and bobs that get told. You've only got to look at what them guys are doing. Breeders are not getting fish at 7 and 8 years old to 90 centimeters in a meter without feeding them high fat, high protein growth foods, if you like. It's, yeah, bonkers stuff. That's just like the color food scenario where people say, oh, you shouldn't use color food, you'll damage the color. Absolute bollocks. You just won't never get the color to the level it should be if you're not using it. That's just a reality. Hi Ricky, it's my first year keeping koi. My budget is around £300 for a Tancho Koraku. Any idea when you'll have any available in my price range, as your fish are outstanding? David, I really appreciate that. The best thing to do is get in the WhatsApp group and the Koi Online one as well. That's not actually in this description. I don't think I updated it. But if you're in one anyway, you get to see them. And I have got a batch of Tanchos. I was actually prepping some up yesterday. So they'll be working their way through the system soon, and I'm sure you'll be able to catch a nice one for the budget that you've got. Hi, Ricky. Collecting our first heat Saturday. Currently sitting at 9 degrees. How would you go about rising the heat? I think I had this chat with, it might have been with Satch yesterday, to be honest. Yeah, just nice and steady. I mean, depends, to be honest with you, what temperature you're going to, because that's going to be the most important part of all this. But when you're going up, remember, most of the time, if you go up too quickly, you can cause heat stress and you will cause some degree of stress. The difference from going up to down is, as you're going up, you're activating their immune system more and more so they can overcome the stress. When you go the other way too quickly, you're turning their immune system off and stressing them out. So you've got to be really super careful with that. The biggest bit here is not to go changing your behavior towards the ponds, i.e. feeding too quickly, because you need to let everything else catch up, the filter, the rest of it. So I think, you know, a degree a day is really steady. Some thermostats, it depends how quickly it warms up as well. I mean, if I do my boiler, I can raise a pond even when it's cold like this, 4 or 5 degrees in a day quite easily. So and sometimes more on the smaller ponds. So if you're at a kind of degree or day, regardless of what you're going up to, that's not going to cause too many issues. The biggest bit, as I say, don't rush to start changing your feeding behaviors and stuff. Let the filter wake up and catch up before you start doing anything in that respect. Yeah, so do you mind me asking if we needed a vet, how much? And I don't know if that was actually aimed at Susan, possibly. Would we generally be looking at? Part of the problem with this is depending where you are. If you can get a vet who can deal with it locally, it's not going to be too bad. If you have to bring a specialist halfway around the country, you're going to be paying day rates and mileage and stuff like that. So that bill is going to rack up enormously. Some of the testing can be done remotely at times, because one of the biggest things in all this, you need a vet to in order to get the antibiotics legally and correctly. The water testing you can get done, and the screening and the swabs and everything, you know, that can be done remotely, done and sent off. But even at that point, you've got to get a vet involved, because you can't get the antibiotics without them. And from what I know of the legislation around it, a vet has to have come and seen the animals that they're treating before they can actually issue it. So I don't know of other ways that can be done. It's not my area, and I know it's frustrating as hell. But if you are struggling, Brian here at London Aquatic Vet is always a great one to reach out to see if there's anything she can do before going elsewhere. Hi Ricky, I saw Mr. Kentaro Sakai feed his champion fish handmade koi food. How do people handmade their koi food? Yeah, so they actually use their pellet food and they soak it, but they soak it with other flavorings and bits and bobs to create kind of even more stimulation there in the flavor and the taste. So yeah, that's all it is. It's turning the pellets into a paste and going from there with that one. There used to be some powdered food years ago you could get and turn into a paste food, but generally that's what they do. And there's then other ingredients you can mix into it if you wish. There we go, Lee. To be honest with you, mate, scrapes there on that one. I'd be checking for parasites first. Food's been knocked off. Like, yeah, around just water, food. If that's how they're behaving, it might just be that they are splashing. But if they are actually really jumping in it in the covers, mate, you need to be investigating a bit further with that one. Amber, you're gonna have to go back to the start of the video on that one. Bit late to the party, but not surprised that one's cropped up again. Oh, that's a good question. To be honest with you, I've not been to too many of the physical auctions. It's mainly been online, and I can't actually think of a mistake really, other than probably buying a few too many. That was probably the mistake in all that one. But yeah, I can't. I spend a lot of time on them things, even the online ones. I analyze every lot when they come up. Anything that looks of interest, I study the video. Very, very important in all that. That is where you will make mistakes if you're not careful. But yeah, live auctions not been too many because I find them quite tedious, to be honest with you. Sitting there all day waiting for your lot to come up. It's not really my bag. Jacob, Ricky, when you build a pond in a greenhouse, is the pond completely above ground or only partially above ground? Just trying to consider keeping the water the warmest in winter. Mine are, it depends where it's been. Some are just 12-inch in the ground, others are just built off the foundation. So nothing generally on that one. So the greenhouse comes right down the sides of the pond. So the greenhouse does act as the insulator in that point. Gary, I presume you're referring to yours there. Is it worth it? I don't know. I've seen that's again over on the Telegram group. There's a link to the description in that. The air source heat pump channel, I must say, which is very community driven because I can add no value to it, has been a phenomenal resource for air source heat pump owners. The advice in there, shared experiences from all your combined experiences, has been phenomenal and I know a great help. So I have seen there's been problems, but there's also people who think they're the absolute best thing since sliced bread. It can be the difference just in a setting. So well worth getting yourself in there if you're looking for advice on one of them because the guys are doing a fantastic job in helping each other out with those. When growing on Tosai, should I avoid colour food and stick to the growth food because of fear of breaking colour pigment by overdoing it when so young? No, you need to do the complete opposite. You need to help because when they're growing fast, you're stretching colour, you're stimulating, you need to get it moving, you need to get the colour spreading and developing because what will happen is you'll spend all summer growing it and stretching it. You'll get to autumn and go, I'm not really happy with that colour. Then you'll need to do something then when theoretically you kind of want to be resting them a bit. So that's exactly where I'd be with that one. That is really the time when you need to be using colour food the most is when you're really pushing them hard. Hence why I use a mix anywhere from 25% up to a 50-50 mix generally. And there can even be times with Deutz and metallics that I just feed straight colour food for a time period. You have one of the best YouTube channels, Ricky. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Looking at buying some Dainichi Showa's Tosai 20cm approximately. They have a lot of Sumi on them and very little, presume that's Shiroji. Is this a problem, or will the sumi drop away as they grow? So with the very small ones, yes, the likelihood is a lot of the sumi will fall away as they start to grow, providing they're growing kind of at pace as well. The temperature they get to will play a part in how a baby sumi can actually react. And baby sumi this should not be overused. It's not every fish that does this. You have to actually understand the sumi, and that's by observation and knowing the bloodlines and understanding it. Now with Denichi, that is more typical for this to happen. It'll kind of go into hiding a little bit, and then the Masumi will really start coming from deep and maturing up on the body. But that doesn't apply to all of them, because just as an example, the Sumi of Mona Lisa typically tends to develop a little bit different to that of Super Monster because of the heritage of the parent fish and where they both come from, with the Super Monster deriving from Momotaro Mako Showa, you see. So the early years of that particularly, you know, we saw a massive difference in sumi quality. But yes, generally you'll get a lot of fall away, but that's not going to happen with every fish. But with Dainichi in particular, in this case, yeah, around that, a fair chunk of that could be baby sumi that will fall off, but that's not the same case with every fish. That term can get overused quite a lot. Right, let's have a look. My computer has got some horrible lag going on. Right, Ann Miller, this is going to be the last one tonight, folks. When your Tosai pond is half Gosanki and half Yellow Monkey, Golden Core, Yamabuki, what ratio of colour food can I get away with? You'd be all right. I think a fair mix all round there would probably be like a third. I think it'd be fantastic. If you want to be a bit more aggressive at the height of a growing period, 50-50 wouldn't hurt for a little while. But I think a 30-odd% ratio, you're going to be absolutely fantastic with that one. So, yes, don't be shy using it at all. Right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all. So I'm saying this like it's the end of it all. It's really not. And Question Time Live as a format is going to be repurposed somewhere, which you will get to see in good time. It's on the list. But yes, next week, in fact, I might, let me see if this will load up. Let's share this with you before we go, because this is the one, this has had so much work put into it, you will not believe. So next week, we're starting with Wednesday Night Live. It's a new format in the sense of I'm breaking it up, so there are going to be different segments within it. So we'll start with a bit of a catch-up every week, and then we're going to have a koi live auction segment embedded within it. The likelihood is as well, this is going to extend out to be a longer show on the Wednesday as well. We're going to have some live auction. We're still going to have a question time segment, and then a koi focus segment, which is actually going to be the release of an exclusive video that we're going to have done every week, that you'll be able to sit and watch as an educational piece as well. So yeah, we're working on a whole new range of digital assets to kind of spice it up a little bit, let's say. And this is the finalized, I say finalized, I might change my mind yet, but here is the, I'll play it in a minute, the intro. Share it with you now for the new show. I really like what Aaron's put together here. How's that for good vibes? Absolutely love that. He's done a phenomenal job. So, yeah, with a fair bit more to work on. We're going to be a busy run up until next week to get going, to get all the other bits and bobs done we want to do. But yeah, going to be a very comprehensive format, that one. And yeah, can't wait. And like I say, we'll see where we head, or you'll see in good time where we head with the question time as a format and other bits and bobs. So, as it is the last official question time live, I really do want to thank you all for the support over 100. Even saying that, that's nuts. 115 episodes. That's at the very least 115 hours of me rambling on about koi. That's bonkers, absolutely bonkers. But honestly, guys, it's been fantastic. I've loved every minute of it. And like I say, it's not goodbye or the end of it, but this is just on to the next phase of all this. But it's been amazing. That content's all there. And when we do actually get time, I think it eventually, when we actually bring another set of hands on board to help out with all the marketing, I think that's going to be the time we can start actually repurposing a lot of that as well, because it's going to be crazy the amount of stuff that's sat in there that people might not have picked up on. So, but it's all sat there waiting to be done. And like I say, thank you so much to everybody who supported it and me all along this. So, yeah, on that note, I clearly think I need to go to bed looking at my eyes. Yeah, there we go. I'll go on and see what we tackle tomorrow. Off to Old Trafford as well. Fantastic, eh? The form we're in at the minute. 2 draws in a row. Epic. Uh, awesome. So, once again, thanks everyone. And I will catch you very, very soon.